Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to cover Chapter 12, Part C. In this part, we'll talk about ABC analysis. So far, we talked about the economic order quantity model. In this model, we looked at the case where we manage only one type of item, a single item. But if you visit a Walmart store, you'll find thousands of items on the shelf. Here's a question. To what items should you pay more attention? We have limited time and limited resources, so we can't monitor all the items closely. Should you pay more attention to some of the items? To answer this, we'll use ABC analysis. ABC analysis is an inventory application of what is known as the Pareto principle. And the Pareto principle states that there are a critical few and trivial many. If we apply this, we can establish inventory policies that focus resources on the few critical inventory parts and not the many trivial ones. So let's refresh our memory and see what Pareto analysis is about. Pareto is an Italian economist who studied the way the wealth is distributed among people. And he drew the following graph. On the x-axis, he put the people from the richest person to the poorest person. So this is the richest guy, this is the second richest person, and so on. On the y-axis, he put the cumulative wealth. So for the richest guy, the cumulative wealth is his own wealth. For the second richest guy, his cumulative wealth is the wealth of the richest guy and the wealth plus the wealth of the second richest guy. So after finishing this, Pareto discovered the following. Only 20% of people own 80% of the total wealth. Furthermore, only 50% of people own 95% of the wealth. In other words, most of the wealth is owned by a few number of people. And we can find similar situations in other areas. For example, on the x-axis, we can list all the items we keep on the shelf. And the y-axis is the cumulative annual dollar value. In other words, this is the cumulative amount of money we spend to purchase the items from suppliers. So if we apply the idea of Pareto, we can say that most of the dollar value comes from a few number of items. And we need to monitor these items more closely. So here is the question. How can we identify these items? We can use the following procedure. We compute the annual dollar volume of each item by multiplying the annual demand of each inventory item by the cost per unit. Class A items are those on which the annual dollar volume is high. They represent only 15% of the total inventory items, but they represent 70 to 80% of the total dollar usage. Class B items are those inventory items of medium annual dollar value. These items represent 30% of inventory items and 15 to 25% of the total dollar usage. Class C items are those with low annual dollar volume, and they represent 55% of the total inventory items, but represent only 5% of the total annual dollar volume. So to summarize, the A items represent 70% of the dollar usage, B items represent 20%, C 10%. These percentages may vary from one case to another. Now, what's the advantage of using ABC analysis? Let's say you are running a Walmart store and you have thousands of items on the shelf, and you don't have the time to monitor all the items closely. And by focusing on the A items, we can use your time more efficiently. So let's take an example. I want to show you how to identify A, B, C items. Consider a Walmart store with the following items on the shelf. Classify the first 75% of the annual dollar usage as A, the next 19.3% as B, and the rest as C. So we have the list of items on the shelf, and we have the cost per unit. So for example, to purchase 1 unit of CD from a supplier, you're paying $6. And you're given the annual demand. That means you are selling 300 CDs every year. Now you can compute the annual cost, how much you're investing to purchase each item every year. So to purchase CDs, you are purchasing 300 units every year, and each unit costs $6. So every year you're spending $1,800 for this inventory item. And we can repeat this for the rest of the items. For the shampoos, 1,100 times 5 equals 5,500. 900 times 1 equals 900. 80 times 55 equals 4,400. 700 times 2 equals 1,400. 800 times 2 equals 1,600. Now, next, we want to compute the percentage of each dollar value, right? So what percentage is $1,800 out of the total? So to compute this, first, you need to compute the total dollar usage and your dollar usage, which is the sum of these numbers. So 1,800 plus 500 all the way up to 1,600. This is $15,600. Yeah. Now to compute the percentage of 1,800 out of the total, so you have to take 1,800 divided by the total, 15,600. So that's 0.115, which is 11.5%. And you can repeat this for the rest of the items. For the shampoos, the annual dollar usage is 500. So divided by the total, you get 0.353, which is 35.3%. Yeah. Next, 900 over 15,600, that's 5.8%. Next, 4,400 over 1,560, that's 28.2%. And next, 1,400 over this equals 9.0%. And next, 1,600 over 1,560, 10.3%. Now, using these percentages, we need to identify A, B, C items. To do this, we're going to put these items from the largest percentage to the smallest percentage. Which one has the largest percentage? The shampoos, right? Shampoos, 35.3%. And which one has the next highest percentage? This one, 28.2, which is the TV sets. TV, 28.2%. Which one has the next highest percentage? CDs, 11.5%. The next one, batteries, 10.3%. Next one, magazines, 9.0%. And the last one is towels, 5.8%. Now, at this point, can you classify A, B, C items? The question says, classify the first 75% of the annual dollar usage as A, So if you add the first two items, if you can add the percentage of the first two items, what do you get? If you add them up, you get 60. This is okay. So in other words, you're computing the cumulative percentage. So if you add them up, you get 63.4. Now, if you add the first three percentages, what do you get? You get 74.9, almost 75%, right? 74.9. Now, if you add the first four percentages, what do you get? You get 85.2. Now, if you add the first five percentages, what do you get? You get 94.2. Now, if you add all the percentages, what do you get? You get 100%, right? So the first one is just 35.3. So this is the cumulative percentages. So what are the what are A items? If you add the first three items, you get almost 75%. So these items are A items. How about the B items? The next 19.3%. So if you add these two percentages, you get 19.3. So these two are the B items. And the rest are the C items. The towels are the C items. So this is what you did. You computed the percentages and you put everything from the highest frequency percentage to the lowest frequency percentage. And then you computed the cumulative percentage. And you found out that if you add the first three percentages, you get 75%. So these are the A items. If you add the next two percentages, you get 19.3. So these are the B items, and the rest are the C items. So this is a procedure we need to follow. Step one, compute the annual dollar volume for each item, which is the unit cost times the annual demand. Step two, compute the total annual dollar volume. Step three, compute the percentage of the annual dollar volume. Step four, sort the items in increasing order of the, in fact, this is the decreasing order of the percentages. And step five, classify the items into A, B, and C. This is everything we have today, and I'll see you next time.